call the meeting to order and we'll do our roll call. Please bear with me. I have several on here that say unknown and some that say tentative. And I can see that some of you are here that fall in that category. So must have worked out. So bear with me and we'll get through it here the first time and make sure I have it right. So Aaron Easter. Aaron, we couldn't hear you. I could see you say it, but we couldn't hear you. Well, we still can't hear you, but we'll let you work on that. So we know you're here. Jody Hamilton, is she here? It says unknown. Jody, looks like she did not make it. David Byers. It says you're going to be here. Are you here? Okay, it looks like he did not make it. Gary Schroeder, it says unknown, but I see you're here.
I am here, Tony.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Steve Snyder. Snyder, but I don't. Okay, I guess that's a no. And unknown for Larry Leverance or Kathy Parker. Either one of those make it?
Larry is here.
Larry is here, okay. This job's getting harder as the years go on. Okay, let's see. Cindy Murray shows yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It said unknown, but I know you're on.
Yeah.
And then Mike Gibson, it said tentative, but Mike, I see you.
Here.
And then looks like maybe Scott Chandler with NDOT.
Yes.
Okay, Scott is here. All right, thank you, everybody. We've completed the roll call. With that, we'll go to the approval of the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Those have been communicated to you in your packet. And I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Steve Snyder, so moved.
Second by Gary.
And so, Steve, you are here now?
Yes, I had some difficulties. I am present.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. We'll take a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
Scott Chandler.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. The minutes are approved. The next item we have on the agenda is Resolution T25-16, a resolution to amend the 2026-2030 Transportation Improvement TIP. And Doug's going to talk. We've got this in regard to some bridges and things, and Doug's going to talk about that.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mayor. The first TIP amendment we have in front of us has been requested by the Indiana Department of Transportation. It involves only two projects. One is on State Road 25. This is a bridge maintenance and repair project. Actually, it is basically related to the Norfolk and Southern Railroad bridges over, or the bridges over the Norfolk and Southern. This is a very interesting project. The issue is that, of course, there are what you call MSE walls there at the bridges, and a lot of the fill material has disappeared. So this is not an emergency project, but a very urgent project that needs to be addressed, and this is why we're moving it forward through the TIP amendment approval process. The second project is on US 231 at the intersection of County Road 800 South. Right turn lanes will be added for both northbound and southbound US 231. Fairly straightforward. That construction is targeted for 2027, as you see on the screen. The Technical Transportation Committee did review this request at their last month's meeting and recommended approval. So we are asking for your approval through Resolution T25-16. Scott, would you like to add anything?
You covered it well. Thank you.
If there's any
All
other
right.
questions or comments, please, I'd be more than assist to help.
All right, thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the resolution. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Scott Chandler.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. The resolution is approved.
Thank
The
you.
next resolution is T25-17, resolution to amend the 2026-2030 TIP. And it looks like it also concerns maybe some bridges and some funding corrections. So Doug will handle that one.
Again, thank you, Mayor. Specifically, this involves bridge number 64 and bridge number 65. They have both been in the works for quite a while, and this involves the construction phase, which is targeted for state fiscal year 2028. I'll admit upfront that this is basically due to my fault in using the actual incorrect data or information regarding the funding amounts. When I was putting the tip together back last December, I used the incorrect amounts. So this tip amendment actually does include the correct dollar amounts, both including federal, state, and total for both projects. Again, the Technical Transportation Committee did review this and recommend approval last month, and we're recommending approval as well through the resolution. Any comments or questions?
Okay, thank you, Doug. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we will conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Scott Chandler.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T25-18, the resolution to amend the 2026 to 2030 TIP. It involves some city bus reallocation. And looks like, Doug, you're up again.
Again, this request was made by city bus staff, and it includes three portions to it. The first portion is in regards to their standard Section 5307 funding, and this involves the 2023 funding. Basically, they have dollar amounts programmed for a specific project, that being the capital and preventive maintenance project. And City Bus has already obligated a little over 1.58 million for it, and they do not need the rest for this project. The balance is 416,000. They would like to use that balance and spread it out over three projects, and they are listed in the staff report. One being replacement tires, one being shop equipment, and the other being bus stop facility. So basically, they're taking advantage and not leaving these funds lapse, and actually moving them to other projects which they can take advantage of these federal funds. The second part to this is something we have already addressed, and this involves 2024 Section 5307 funds. If you remember correctly, not too long ago, there was a request to amend the Area Plan Commission's work program to program $1.5 million for a study. This is the other part where this is where the funding is coming from. And it is coming from their capital preventive maintenance project. So basically, this is where the federal funds are coming from to pay for the studies. The last part of it is fairly straightforward. As you remember, we flexed Federal Highway Administration funds over to City Bus for specific targeted improvements at the intersection of Paramount and US 52 or Sagamore Parkway. At that time, we left it up whether it could be used for preliminary engineering or construction, and we didn't pencil in a specific date. Well, the good news, and thanks for NDOT's help on this, is that you may recall they do have a sidewalk project that is being under development right now and moving through the engineering stage, and they basically are going to take on all of the work and incorporate our proposed improvements within that project. So we have a very good partnership working here. So basically the decision is that these funds will be used for the construction aspect of the project, and we now have a date for this project, which is basically state fiscal year 2028. So with this TIP amendment, or this portion specifically, we are cleaning up and basically putting in that it's going to be used only for construction and the year of the construction. So the Technical Transportation Committee did review this request at their November meeting and recommended approval. City Bus Board of Directors did review it and approve the funding trades. And before I go on to ask for approval, which I hope the committee will do through the resolution T2518, I'd like to ask if Brian would like to add anything to this request.
No, I think you outlined it very well. Appreciate MPO Policy Committee's efforts to help us rearrange the money so we don't let anything lapse.
Are there any other comments or questions I could answer or help with from the committee?
I have one. How many bus stop facilities are you going to try to put in?
So we could go back up to that page.
It just said, I didn't know if it was a couple or 10 or what.
Is that the facility rehabilitation line item, Doug, if I recall correctly? Or no, bus stop. There we go, 186.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
halfway down.
Yeah, so bus stop facilities, not to give you a lawyer's answer, but it depends. Some places where we need stops, there could be extensive concrete work and things like that needed, and grading. And really, we don't have we have plenty of areas identified that need the work, but they're also then we work with either the right-of-way owner or the landowner to get permissions and potentially easements. So $186,000 could fund 2 or 3 very simple stops,
That didn't go very far, yeah.
right, yeah, or 1 or 2 more complicated stops, all depending on how much we're talking about. The shelters themselves used to be about $5,000, and now they're coming in around 12 to 20,000. So oftentimes we try to get deals where the landowner or the right-of-way owner will do the concrete work. The cities and builders are better at that than we are, and will supply the bus shelter. So if we were able to make this just bus shelters, we could probably make it go pretty far for just bus shelters. But sometimes that's possible and sometimes it's not.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any other questions for Brian or Doug? Quite a bit in this particular resolution, so.
I
Huh?
do want to thank City Bus and Doug reaching out to NDOT. The project at Sagamore and Paramount will improve safety. It's something that we're excited about on our side too, and it makes sense. So it's a really good partnership we have, and it's paying off. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're glad to hear that. Thank you. All right. Anything else from anybody before we vote? All right. Hearing none, we'll conduct a roll call vote. Mary Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray, Mike Gibson,
Aye.
Scott Chandler.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is some administrative modifications to the 2026-2030 TIP. It looks like we have a couple of those. And Doug, we'll start out with the NDOT one there.
Again, thank you, Mayor. As you can see, we've been very busy making changes and processing these changes to the document. These are minor changes that do not require the committee's approval for this, and it usually just involves small changes. This first project, or this first modification here, as you see on November 6th, this was requested by the NDOT's Crawfordsville District Office. It does include a handful of projects, one on State Road 26, a thin bridge deck overlay over the Wildcat Creek, and basically the change is moving the year of construction from 2027 to 2028. On US 52, the project is a bridge replacement project over the Gaylord Branch, and that is moving the construction phase to 28 to 29. And then on I-65, there are 4 projects, 2 bridges, the northbound and southbound bridges over the Wildcat Creek, and the other 2 are the north and southbound bridges over State Road 26, and they are being moved from fiscal year 26 to 27. And for the 26 and 52 project, we're just changing the federal funds from surface transportation block grant funds to bridge funds. So fairly straightforward and minimal. And again, with the modification, all we do is present to you the information to make sure that we did process this and make sure the full public disclosure of all these small changes. The second one involves Tippecanoe County's bridge, specifically the North 9th Street Bridge. They are sharpening their pencil in terms of looking at construction costs. And unfortunately, the cost has increased again, a little over $400,000. So NDOT now has this rule that we have to be fairly close or match the engineer's estimates. So we processed this modification since we're only increasing the local side of this. There's no increase, unfortunately, with the federal funds. So now the estimated cost is a little over $10.8 million. So those basically summarize these 2 modifications. Are there any comments or questions?
All right, thank you, Doug. Hearing no comments or questions, we'll move on to 2026 safety performance measures and targets. And Tim, it looks like you'll be handling that one.
Yes, so this is something that we do every year around this time. So federal law requires the Indiana Department of Transportation to set safety performance targets for 5 different categories, which are number of fatalities, rate of fatalities per 100 million miles traveled, number of serious injuries, rate of serious injuries per 100 million miles traveled, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. As an MPO, we have two choices. We can either set our own targets for all these items, which is quite an extensive process, which involves a good amount of work, or we can concur with the state DOT's targets. So as in the past, we have decided to go with a route where we support and concur with state DOT's targets. So the specific numbers are listed there in this letter that I'm showing on screen. So I don't think we necessarily need to go over all of the numbers unless there are any specific questions about them. So I would take any questions at this time about this process.
All right, anybody have any questions? We've done this before, different years, so thank you, everybody. Tim, I think we're good.
Okay, so we do have one thing that is a little unusual about this. So the way NDOT has always asked us to do this is to send a letter of concurrence. So if we could get a motion to support the state's performance measures and targets and authorize Ryan, our executive director, to sign the letter expressing that support. So I have that typed up on the screen here, how we would like the motion worded.
I'll make that motion, Steve Snyder.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverett,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
Scott Chandler.
Aye.
Board approves the motion. Thank you, everyone. All right, with that, we will move on down to the APC progress report. And the first item under that is the MPO update, quarterly project tracking. And Tim, it looks like you'll be handling that.
Yes, so this is kind of a summary of what happened at our technical committee meeting last month. I'm not going to go through all the projects, I'll just hit some of the highlights, but I am happy to answer any questions you guys have at the end, of course. So starting with the Tippecanoe County projects, the environmental document for the North 9th Street Road Bridge project was approved on October 8th. So that project is moving forward, that's great. Phase 1 of the Morehouse Road project did pass its final inspection on October 9th. So that phase of the project is almost closed out. Asphalt is being laid for phase 2. Phase 2 will be temporarily open to traffic over the winter months, and then they will go back to putting down asphalt in the spring when the weather gets a little warmer, I think. Section 106 work is almost complete for bridges 80 and 83. So those two bridge projects are advancing as well. And we are almost getting ready to restart the cycle for the county bridge inspection program, which is something that's always an ongoing need. We are expecting contracts for the next phase in January. Moving on to Lafayette, South 9th Street project was split into several phases. The letting for the section from Portman to Veterans Memorial was shifted back to February. Some of those phases are on a little bit of a tight timeline, but they have been on track to hit the project milestones, which is good. So we believe that that project will be able to move forward as scheduled. For West Lafayette, I specifically want to kind of focus on the Soldiers Home Road project. So we actually did get some news this morning that they got an approval of one of their big environmental documents, which is a great step forward for that project. And so that does continue to move forward. So it looks like that project is on track. Are there any questions about those projects or anything that I didn't cover?
All right, hearing none, let's move on down to federal funding obligation. Doug, you'll do that.
Doug, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. Generally, around this time of the year, we want to make sure to keep everybody aware the status of our federal gas tax funds. So we, as in the past, have this nice little one-page handout that shows where our gas tax funds are allocated to by project and by individual funds. The difference for this one, we did add a little status report on the bottom section of it. So right now, we have not obligated any federal funds, and we're hoping that we will start seeing some movement within the next couple of months for that. So we are continually to track the projects and the status to make sure that these funds will be obligated sometime by the April deadline. So we just wanted to start rolling this information out, and of course we will be doing this next year. So any comments or questions? Okay, Mayor, would you like me to go on to the 18-month letting list then?
Sorry about that. Yes, Doug, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm glad to. If you see project number 1, that was on a December 10th bid letting. And I did look at that project here just recently. Interestingly, there were 5 bids submitted for this project. The low bid was $2.474 million from Calumet Civil Contractors. Unfortunately, none of the bids submitted were all above the engineer's estimate. So hopefully we'll get more news on that fairly soon. I suspect it will probably move to a future month, early next year. Again, looking at projects 2, 3, and 4. The first one, one that I keep track of all the time, the Truss Reconstruction and Repair Project on State Road 225. Getting closer. We're almost a month away, so I got my fingers, toes crossed, and I hope everybody else does as well. Project 5, 6, and 7 are all regards to the 9th Street project, the first phase of this. It's still on track for a February letting. Following that, in March, we have the North 9th Street Bridge letting. This involved the tip modification that I mentioned earlier. The project I'd like to mention next is number 12, the traffic signals. This is the first phase of the emergency vehicle preemption project. And then looking down, project 18, that is the county's North River Road raised pavement project. These are the special federal funds that NDOT gave to local communities. And then the project right below that, various traffic signals, that is the second phase of the emergency vehicle preemption project. So any questions or comments?
I can tell you that we are recommending to award the turn lane project on US 52. So we expect that one to go forward with the bidding that came in.
Excellent.
And in addition to what you were describing, our State Road 25 Hoosier Heartland project with the MSE walls should be added to the 18-month letting list. We are pushing this as quickly as we can. So I can send that information, or you can at least add that to the 18-month list, please.
Thank you. I will do that.
Super. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments for the 18-month letting list? All right. Hearing none, is there any other business to come before the board?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, we will move to the citizen public comment phase of the meeting.
There are no public comments on Facebook or YouTube at this time, but we can wait a minute for the stream to catch up. I will time that now.
Thank you.
In 1 minute, and there are no public comments on Facebook or YouTube.
All right, thank you very much. Hearing no public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Conduct a roll call
Second.
vote. Thank you. We will conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Stephen Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverett,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Scott Chandler.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.